Park's then landowner shove old cars over the top of the park's most popular waterfall, nearly a 200-foot drop. I wondered how the remaining Kalapuya made sense of such a senseless act. Did they see themselves stewards of the land? Did they believe their ancestors compelled them to intervene? I read a fun fact in the park pamphlet that the Kalapuya shaman were thought to be vested with supernatural powers to cure sickness and to see the dead, powers they used to solve problems for members of their tribe. Kind of like a life coach, it sounded, but less hacky. Shamans had to pick each problem carefully because if a shaman failed and their mentee died, the surviving family would kill the shaman in retribution. I didn't know if this was true or a modern-day white person's invention, but the whole idea sounded appealing. If you intervene in a person's spiritual affairs, shouldn't you bear responsibility for your actions? If the psychiatrists at Bridgewood failed to help my wife, would I want retribution? If the Kalapuya believed that Blueberry had a spirit, their belief was probably congruent with her reality as a being in whose company they lived. As compared to, say, what the Greeks or Romans might have believed, a dryad or nymph, promiscuous shapeshifter who inhabited the tree but had a life outside it. I read a story once, something German, about a spirit in a fur. A doctor out for a walk in the woods stumbles on a tree marked with a cross. A stopper plugged a hole in the wood to imprison a spirit. The doctor heard a voice, the spirit begged for freedom, as all caged spirits do, and the doctor agreed on one condition: make me a medicine that will cure all illness. Yada yada, the doctor frees him and transfiguration occurs. Hideous black spider, red-eyed old man. There is some kind of road trip in which the cure-all is procured, but the doctor gets wind he is about to unleash big evil on the world. So the doctor, clever that he is, tricks the spirit back into that tree high in the mountains, protected by snowdrifts, far from the sight of human beings. And wouldn't you know it, the cure-all worked. I couldn't imagine a world in which Blueberry hosted an evil spirit. I put my hand out again to her side, held the glove tightly between my teeth so it didn't fall, quieted my labored breathing. I tried to exhale through my nose into her. I felt the place where her skin met my skin, such different kinds of skin. What do you remember? I asked Blueberry, and held my hand still, waiting to hear, waiting to know. Memory is stored in tree rings, their width and depth, pattern. These markings hold time crystallized. Which of your years were cold and wet, which warm and dry? When did companion trees crowd you? When did they suddenly blow over, giving you room to stretch and grow faster? And what else might you remember, and how did it mark you? When I was a child, my mother told me about a scientist who taped electrodes to plants in a greenhouse. He'd hired a man to tear leaves off half the plants and walk away. When the plant assassin returned, the other plants recognized him by smell and screamed an electrode scream. Everyone makes such a fuss about eating meat, my mother joked, but do they ever consider the screaming baby carrots? Those electrode experiments were debunked, I'm sure, but not the idea that trees are social beings. My wife has read to me excitedly from articles claiming trees cooperate by warning each other when harmful insects are nearby, or by passing carbon and sugar around in underground networks. On a camping trip once, she showed me how to tell a fir from other conifers. Only the fir's pine cones rise straight upward from the branches like candles. I didn't see any pine cones as I climbed. The tree's gray-brown bark was scaled in large oblong shapes. In places, lichen sheathed the trunk, but not the branches. Fir stood for light in the coming darkness. The sunrise at the top would be spectacular. Thank you.
Amazing. and so well read. Oh my God. How do you do that? I could have just sat here for like 2 hours. Just keep going.
Thank you.
That was awesome. I also know Megan through PCC, but I never got to hear your writing before. That was very cool, very creative, very moving. Thank you. That poem. That poem. I am so excited to introduce Ash Yang-Thompson. We met you sometime this last year. You were here in July.
Casey.
With Casey Lehman, yes, a Tin House McCormick Writing Center resident. And we were upstairs talking, and I was like, who is this cool person? You're so cool. And then we found out that you are a writer, and you gave us a sticker and a card that was
such a cool sticker.
Such a cool sticker, and such a very funny sticker.
Yeah.
And a card or a bookmark or something that said how to
Pooping is a triumph.
no, it was how to poop without your phone.
Oh, without your phone.
And I was like, Jessica,
You want us
we need to have Ash read. And Jess was like, yes, we do. So we're so excited that you're here. Really, really excited to see what you have for us. Ashley Yang-Thompson, she, her, has been a performance artist since the day she was ruthlessly shoved out of the safety of her mother's womb. She is the author of How to Be the Worst, Laziest, Fattest, Most Incontinent Piece of Shit in the World Ever, and Still Warm. Please help me welcome Ash Yang-Thompson.
I finished this a couple of days ago. So it's a new book I'm working on, and the chapters are race, not race, eating, not eating, and this one's love, not love. Cringe. Falling in and out of love with someone you meet on Tinder over the course of 2 weeks and presenting a giant poster of his cock for your grad school critique with a quote attributed to Virginia Woolf that you found inside a Hallmark card. I am never not thinking of you. After coming to your senses, you attempt to delete the dick pic forever, but because your computer is old, or because you left it charging all night too many times, the shadow of your ex's genitals is permanently burned into the screen. Years later, when you live in a Zen training home, nobody can ever see or borrow your computer. A turgid phallus haunts this desktop. I don't know how to be a 21st century woman. I feel compelled to pay for dinner since he bought me a $28 book, and a $7 used book, and my big brother's frown when I told him I let men pay on dates, and my need for approval and not wanting to be beholden, and independence. But in reality, my mind can't stop spinning and spitting numbers. $15 Uber plus $31 for dinner plus a second Uber home after making out on the sidewalk. My chest tightens. The inflammation of mundane scenarios into operatic anxiety. I want to see you again, but going to restaurants turns my heart into a stingy fist, and I don't want to cook for you because I'm insecure regarding my rice cooker concoctions and dorm-like domicile, and oh God, I'm crying in public outside of Whole Foods. I think, but don't say. I don't know how to be a 21st century woman, how not to have this need to be taken care of and spoiled, how not to want a person to tuck my hair behind my ear and say, you don't need to worry about numbers. I'll make the numbers go away. I don't know how not to be a fragile piece of toilet paper, pertinaciously perched on a lover's knee, wanting to be ensconced in a protective embrace. I don't know how to cease the endless intellectualization of experience. Shh. Take 3 deep breaths, says my 6th therapist in the past 2 years. The agony of eros is that we convince ourselves a momentary sensation will last forever. The passing feeling of falling in love, the mutual crescendo of shared fantasies makes every other high pale in comparison. I find myself reconstructing the narrative of my life. I was lost. Now I'm found. I thought I had accomplished something by sleeping with men 18, 25, 50 years older. It made me feel precocious when I was too old to be precocious. It behooved me, I apparently have absorbed some of their antique vernacular, to believe what these men claimed to believe, that I was wise beyond my years, that they were my colleagues and not my mentors, that I was special, that what we had was the exception to the status quo. 27 years old. Googling May-September romances, searching for an example as extreme as my own. Woody Allen's stepdaughter wife is a mere 35 years younger than him. Picasso's final lover, Francois, were only 40 years apart. I have a great-granddaughter. I love my great-granddaughter, my mentor says. That was our inside joke. Reading Amiya Srinivasan's The Right to Sex, I underline the following passage. Fuckability is not some good that should be distributed more fairly. It isn't good at all. Catherine Cross, a sociologist and gaming critic, writes, to some white men, Asian women top their hierarchies of desirability. But what do those women get out of that? Suffocating stereotypes of docility, discrimination, abuse. These are the wages of being in someone else's hierarchy. 2 a.m. I am 22 years old, and my 40-year-old boyfriend is kneeling on the ground before me. We are in his art gallery, which has also become my painting studio. He is crying into his Bud Light Lime, begging me not to abandon him. I begin reading feminist literature in earnest, hoping it will teach me how to say no to men, even if they tell me I'm a beautiful genius and buy me lots of cool stuff. And it also has paintings that go along with it if you want to come and check it out after. 31 years old. Here is reality as I see it, from where I lay now on a creaky $200 mattress with a bowl of diet popcorn. As long as I played the girl, I could avoid taking responsibility for my life. Girls need to be protected. Girls are innocent and docile. They idolize their father and are adored in exchange. A young woman falling for her mentor is not transgressive. Why did I ever think that it was? It is an extraordinary lucrative genre of porn. It is about the most predictable mistake a girl can make. At my 7th therapist's suggestion, I read a book called The Wounded Woman by Linda Leonard. Along with the sweet girlish innocence often goes nasty manipulation, she writes. Was there a secret part of me that was attracted to violence and being the victim of violence? On the apps, shortly after turning 29. Very nice, very polite, he-they Tinder hipster, with grimy locks and oversized glasses, wearing a pale pink jumpsuit, accompanies me to Duck House Chinese restaurant. Before we order, he asks me if I'm okay splitting the bill, and I say, of course, enthusiastically, while privately fuming, what the fuck? Who is having a better time in this scenario? Not me, and now I'm left with the aftertaste of a $40 bill, even though he drank the majority of my cocktail because I suffer from Asian flush syndrome, which will surely keep me up at night as I tally the cost of my magnesium supplements and co-pays and Americanos. After entertaining my dull date with what I refer to in therapy as the Ashley Show, he suggests we drop off the leftover chow fun at my place since I live a couple blocks away. He enters my sterile, stoic, 300-square-foot apartment embellished with stacks of library books and immediately asks me where my bed is. I mumble something about a Murphy bed. Without any intrigue or seduction whatsoever, without a shared twisted sense of humor or a poem recited from memory, he asks me point blank, so, are we going to make out or something? While visiting my grandma, I see
Eat, Pray, Love in the free library at our low-income senior living facility. I read it the way I eat Snack Factory pretzels, furtively. While catatonically cohered to my grandmother's lazy boy recliner, I imagine myself dropping everything and moving across the world and becoming a spiritual person who isn't obsessed with herself. I imagine eating pizza and pasta without compunction. I imagine becoming a person whom a mature human being would fall in love with. Male authority kink persists. Sick of splitting the bill and panicking over the cost of movie tickets, Ash decides to become a sugar baby. She texts with her friend Maddie. Ash, I am procrastinating on my research presentation by munching on granola and creating a profile on sugardaddy.com. Is this a bad idea? Maddie, there are no bad ideas. Only bad outcomes. Maddie, or there are no bad ideas, only bad actions. Maddie, or there is no bad and there is no good. Ash, I'm starting to wonder, am I attracted to men at all, or am I attracted to men being attracted to me? I wake up at an ungodly hour to take the bus to my aerobics class. While riding the frequent express in a skin-tight pink unitard at the crack of dawn, surrounded by strung-out maniacs screaming the N-word, I tune into 12-step meetings with the camera off. My sponsor asks, do you get high from sex and/or romance? Do you crash? Of course I get high, I say. Fantasizing about a future with XYZ makes the future seem like more of a possibility. Without a crush to pursue, or be pursued by, life becomes a barren, endless winter. And if there's absolutely no one I could have a crush on, my mind will construct an absurdly inappropriate crush, such as my therapist's septuagenarian brother-in-law. I'll tilt my head and squint, coercing myself into a tepid physical attraction, or I'll tell myself that looks don't matter. I was like a lab rat who would rather electrocute herself than accept the monotony of an ordinary life. I become addicted to Jungian psychology. Every day, over oatmeal, contemplating psychological incest and journaling abstractions. In all the men I loved, I was searching for a more responsible, more permanent, and consistent reincarnation of my father, blah, blah, blah. The refusal to accept strength is demonic, blah, blah. Relinquish the search for good parents and others. Some Jungian dating advice. Repeat to self, I won't have this relationship at the expense of my own reality. In an attempt to reinvent myself as someone modest, I donate all of my bubblegum pink miniskirts to Goodwill. I purchase a black, ankle-length dress and apply to live in a residential Zen training home. Cringe. Fearing that the priest will discover I'm uniquely bad and expunge me from the community, I compulsively confess my faults to her in a poem titled Spiritual Autobiography. Is this poem just another piece of me I will regret sharing, like that video that ended up on Pornhub? I memorized one art to soothe my first epic high school heartbreak, and since then, the heart has been continuously breaking. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love, I shan't have lied. Elizabeth Bishop taught me that poetry can provide a dignified container for the wild-eyed emotional instability one learns to suppress. 27 years old. My sponsor asked me to make a dating plan. Only text to make plans. No French kissing until 5th date. No prior breaking of a commitment to accept a date. No light petting for X weeks. No heavy petting for X weeks. No trauma bonding. Do not date a fixer-upper. Do not write urine across knuckles in Sharpie prior to shaking hands. Do not tell Do not talk about peeing on Jebby Joe's foot until the 37th date. Do not give date a spontaneous stick and poke tattoo of an ejaculating penis. I do not follow the dating plan. Age 32, back on the apps. What's the point of falling in love if romance is fiction and projections fade like flowers do? The point isn't to avoid projections, but to become aware of them. Life is more fun with a little delusion, says the psychotherapist I matched with on Hinge. Being authentic is when you're not trying to contrive a situation, says my 9th therapist, after I confess my charade. I recited the same poem, one art, from memory to multiple dates. Having promptly forgotten, I quoted the same poem to the same person more than once. My friend Sophie says to keep reciting the same poems. She confesses she copies and pastes the same sex. Last month, I was struck by the Jungian scholar Marie-Louise von Franz's definition of romantic love as a painful, primitive, autoerotic fantasy. Sophie sends me an article about Iris Murdoch that offers a more generous take on the subject. A moment of undistorted, blinding insight into the infinite and irreplaceable value of others. Determined to please my therapist, I go on an indefinite male attention fast. Male attention fast, not seeking attention in a contrived way, abstaining from compulsive habitual changes in voice or body pattern, not relating to myself as an object. 22 years old. Cringe. Making a 6-foot-tall text painting that says, "Only white men are safe," while safely ensconced in an artist residency in Vermont. Thanks to the generosity of my white benefactors, I was enjoying 3 chef-prepared meals a day. Inundated with the scent of freshly baked bread, I walked past equanimous scenes of bucolic verdure to my enormous, fully funded art studio, where I proceeded to paint garish men's rights activists drowning in my period blood. There's painting. Age 27. My great-grandpa wants me, the woman 50 years his junior, to answer the question, what do we do? He could leave his wife and then wait for me to inevitably leave him. We could continue working together in the painting studio and tell ourselves things won't escalate, which they will. I could run away with my tail between my legs and tell myself I won't burn bridges wherever I go next. What can a person do? What can I do if my heart is stuck to an old, deaf, hunchback bag of bones like flypaper? First date. He told me he didn't expect me to come over. He wanted to clean his bedroom and asked me to stay downstairs and read and relax for a bit. I was sure he was taking a dump. I picked up a copy of Sheila Heti's Pure Color, which was on his coffee table. It was pristine, the Powell's bookstore receipt tucked into the table of contents. I read half of it by the time I went upstairs. In the master bedroom, I thought I could smell a hint of a bowel movement, smothered by Febreze. After we ran out of things to do, the silence in the afternoon sun felt like an existential vacuum. We agreed it was time to go. When we got back in his car, I saw a missed call from my brother. Dad is in the emergency room. I've already left Portland. When did this story begin? Did it begin before I was born? Does it begin the day my grandfather died, when my mother was a young girl in China? He became a saint because she barely knew him. She only knew her memory of him, sneaking out of internment, risking his life to visit her in the still of the night. She told me that he had ruined love for her. No human could live up to a young girl's mirage of this soft-spoken, self-sacrificing, infinitely tender man. Dear ancient man, I am moving to the West Coast September 1st. Everything is shifting its tectonic plates. I totaled my car. I have an age-appropriate boyfriend. I just signed my first book contract with a small press, my own Sylvia Beach. There is a 1 in 3 chance, according to the New Yorker, that I'll die in a Cascadia Fault-induced earthquake/tsunami that will devastate the Pacific Northwest. I, too, have somnolent subduction zones. I contain multitudes which unravel my sense of self. I am also the opposite of who I think I am. I write because you are near your expiration date. I wish I could read Wordsworth to you in your hospital bed and Leaves of Grass. It was what I hoped to do for my father, and now I know that even though death is one of the few certainties of everything living, it still comes as a sweeping, sudden shock. I hope you have at least another decade of painting ducks with priapic tongues. Your friend, Ash. I become addicted to the German-Korean philosopher Byung-Chul Han. In the margins of The Agony of Eros, I write, love is liberation from the captivity of narcissism. Thank you.